Hi, hello, it's Audrey Kadri, and we are back with Riverdale Season 6. Forget everything I said last video, I like the show again. This video is basically all of my notes and thoughts that I wrote as I was watching the season, so it will be mostly chronological. There shouldn't be as much jumping around as last video. I'm not going to be doing like a full recap or going into detail. So if you haven't seen the season, you might be a little confused, but that might also make it even more entertaining. Imagine I'm like your crazy roommate who bursts into your room and just has to tell you about this new season. Right off the bat, super weird. What the heck is Riverdale? So I think we all knew going into it that the season would be a little bit weird, but I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Jughead as the narrator is really nice. He's kind of doing, I assume, a Twilight Zone kind of thing. I've not seen the Twilight Zone. I mean, he's always been kind of the show's narrator, more or less as seasons have gone on, so this is kind of nice to return to. He seems kind of off, and he's also just like amused at everything. That kind of angle of like almost making fun of the show as it happens kind of helps with easing you into how absurd everything suddenly is. Also, Archie and Betty are growing on me. I don't see them as a couple or like as a unit. I still kind of see them as two separate characters, but I don't hate when they're on screen, so that's something. I still don't think that it's anything that compared to like Jetty? No, Bughead. That's the name of the ship. I don't think it really compares to Bughead because I still think that was probably the best relationship on the show as far as like having it be believable and convincing and you rooting for them. Archie is still pretty good. Don't hate when he's on screen. Also, I'm going to be bumping into the gay tree. Betty, like last season, still seems to kind of be on the decline. Like, she just is so uninteresting. And it makes me sad. There's a part where she literally is like, I want to have your babies, Archie Andrews. And I was like, oh my god. Meanwhile, Tabitha and Jughead seem a little weird. I'm not against it. The vibes I was getting in season 5 were like platonic. I know that they kind of set up their relationship then, but it just didn't seem to have any kind of foundation, you know? Like, I believed in their friendship. I don't quite believe in them as a couple. Not that I don't want them to be together. I'm not against it in that way. It's like you're putting that on screen and I see it, and I'm for it, but I don't quite believe it. Like, this is the first time we've seen them as a couple, but they're already in the living together stage. And then, like, after a crazy episode where ghosts possess them, then they say I love you, which is kind of like, I feel like skipping a step. I've not like vast amounts of dating experience, but I feel like that maybe should have come before the moving in stage. I don't know. Weird sound effects are back. They changed the title, so it says Rivervale instead of Riverdale, and they added these 2 scream sound effects, which every time they happen, they make me laugh because they remind me of Trivia Murder Party when someone dies.
Back in Riverdale. Back in Riverdale.
So this part of the season is kind of like, I don't know if vignettes is the right word for it, but they're like mini stories kind of happening, because at the end of the first episode, Archie is dead. He's killed, he's sacrificed in a cult. That looks pretty cool. There's not as many sex scenes in this season, which is a travesty. I'm just kidding, I don't really care. Reggie and Veronica have sex on a pile of money, but it's like the quickest sex scene ever because like they lay down, they kiss, and then that's it. Actually, I'm not even sure if they kiss. It's like 2 seconds and then it's like, we're done. This is what's funny. The writers did this so much in the previous show where they introduced things and then dropped them, but now they have the excuse of this whole structure of it being like small stories that just kind of happen in an alternate universe. So it's kind of genius. They should have played that card earlier. I also think it's funny where like other people have kind of big problems, then Jughead and Tabitha are like, oh no, there's bugs in our house. This season was very dark, like lighting wise. Like you can hardly see anything. There's this really funny scene with Jughead and Tabitha with the bed bugs, and they jump out of bed. Tabitha's like, there's bugs. And then Jughead is like looking in their bed and he's like, I don't see any bugs. And I'm like, yeah, you can't see anything because it's so dark. Reggie is such a funny character. He's got like the ultimate himbo energy. He's just a beautiful man with nothing in his brain. Kind of perfect for Veronica. She definitely has that type.
You a book and suddenly I can't read. I call Veronica a black widow and then the egg I gave her is filled with spiders even though when I checked it, it was empty. What are you? A wizard.
I really don't like in that episode with the ghosts that Tabitha's kind of doing this like hysterical woman thing. I get that they're possessed by the ghosts that like killed each other. It just like doesn't come across very well, especially because this is like one of the first episodes where we see them together as a couple that you're like, oh, Tabitha like not a great person. It's just weird. I don't like it. I like that Cheryl is already playing a very big part in the story. She is back to her trickster ways, and I am here for it. Also, I figured out what's bugging me about Jughead. He doesn't have his hat. Give him back his hat. He doesn't look like a hipster anymore. He just looks like a guy. Here I wrote, obligatory shirtless Archie scene, parentheses, Kevin's dad points at his abs. I don't remember what that's from. Yeah, so far it's kind of all flash, no substance. Crazy things are brought up, like the ritual that killed Archie, and I don't believe it, but I'm having fun. Gotta do something about this tree. I also like that I like that at the end of every episode, the Riverdale sign changes in some way. Like after Archie gets his heart cut out during the ritual, it says, a town with heart or something like that. I think they quit doing it partway through the season, or I guess after the vignette thing is done. But it was fun. It was like a nice little addition. I don't know. It just like felt like they were trying so much more. And I appreciate that. After that, it says, wait, so ... Archie is just dead now. Reggie cheats on Veronica with his car, which is hilarious. There's also a Sam and Diane reference, which I got because I know Frasier, and Cheers by extension. Forget everything I didn't say about Tabitha in my last video. Her charm is gone. If I saw my partner raising a hammer above her head as if to bash my head in, that's a deal breaker. I'm out. Also, Betty has surprisingly little reaction to just not being pregnant anymore. It's like the baby just vanished. In the episode with La Llorona, Tony becomes La Llorona and just gives her baby to Betty. And Betty's face during that whole scene is me. No more baggage, I have a new baby now. It's obvious that this show is just on a whole nother level now, even from like previous seasons. So you have to engage with it in a different way. Like in previous seasons, it would take a lot longer for our characters to be sold on crazy ideas like this. Like, there's no such thing as ghosts, the devil isn't real. But now they're like, oh sure, I'll sell my soul to the devil, that sounds great. Or how like no one really reacts to a major character like Archie dying, or how Betty was plagued with nightmares about TBK and had obvious trauma like to deal with concerning him, and then she's just able to sit across from him and like calmly interrogate him while he's being possessed by various ghosts. Okay, so now I'm thinking, who's gonna die next? Literally right after I wrote this in my notes, Pop Tate had a heart attack. Also, no one can convince me that Pop Tate is going to hell. Absolutely not. The trash bag killer, OMG. This guy is just in a khaki shirt with like green plastic pasted on his face. And when Hal or Polly possesses him, he flops over and it's just so funny. He's just like, Also, I have questions about this man. Did he come up with the trash bag killer name himself, or was it given to him by the media? Like, I can imagine he's leaving these gruesome body parts in bags. I feel like that's pretty normal as far as like serial killers go. So maybe the news was like, trash bag killer. But it looks like his mask is made of garbage bags. So did he do that after the name was given to him? Just to like lean into it a little bit? Or while he was crafting his serial killer persona, did he make the mask and go, I'm the trash bag killer because I'm trash? Also, I feel like we were robbed of this whole story of like Betty being captured by TBK and being held in this pit and then obviously escaping. Like, could I have watched that, please? Later it's revealed that we get like a little bit of what happened, like how she escaped because he was like, cut up this body, and she's like, okay, and then he lets her go. First of all, it's like not as big of a deal as they make it, you know, because this is Betty we're talking about. She's done way worse things than cut up an already dead body. Is that bad? I don't know. I feel like in that case he would have just been like, okay, cool, now you're my partner, and because I'm already obsessed with you and you're gonna stay here forever, we're gonna be like a serial killer couple. I feel like that's what would happen, not just like, okay, bye, thanks for cutting that up for me. Maybe he was just trying to hide the fact that he didn't know how to do it himself, or he'd like been doing a pretty bad job, you know, because he'd already been cutting people up, and he's like, I just need to get a professional in here so I know what I'm doing. Guess what? Satan. Can't use that take. Yeah, so now the devil's here in Riverdale.
Bad news, guys. The devil has come to town.
But he's about the most unthreatening villain we've ever seen. Like, I fear Cheryl more than I fear this guy. I fear Alice when she's in a bad mood, but not Lou Cypher. Very clever. Listen, it's likely that most of the residents of Riverdale are already headed to the devil's fiery kingdom. So why does he have to come around and like make it official? Is he really that desperate? Does the king of hell really need to rise and put the legwork in to recruit souls? Are numbers down in purgatory and he's trying to prove to investors that adding a new hellfire pit will spruce things up a bit? I imagine this season and probably this whole show would be really fun to like get drunk and watch with your friends, but I don't drink and I don't have any friends. I don't know if this season could follow any other season, you know? Like, I welcome the absurdity with open arms after the sludge of season 5. Another thing I forgot to say in the last video, I do appreciate the musical numbers in this show. Like, not the full musical episodes, but the random moments where like the characters perform a verse and a half of a song to bring some energy into the show. It's unnatural half the time, but at least I'm awake. The episode with Cheryl and like all of these, you know, ancestors of hers throughout time that are all lesbian witches, I loved it. Bitsy and Poppy, oh my god. I really love that Cheryl comes from a long line of lesbian witches. That is very fun. It's really stupid, but getting to see so many ladies kiss in this episode just really filled my little gay heart with joy. It's just nice, you know? Now, excuse me, I'm gonna go write Bitsy and Poppy fanfiction. Also, it didn't click initially, but both Poppy and Rose's stories are about witch hunts, which is kind of funny. Also, it turned out Cheryl was immortal, and Sabrina shows up. Okay, now we get to the Jughead paradox, which I thought it would be funny if Cole Sprouse's twin showed up, like Dylan Sprouse, you know, to make an appearance. I kind of wish that they'd do that. I don't know anything about him or what he's doing, but you know, I just think it could be funny. This is also episode 100, which I think is very cool that they did. I love that they break the fourth wall, and I love that they have Jughead do it, because he's always kind of been the narrator. So he's like already bridging that gap between this fictional world and us as like the viewers. I love that they acknowledge that Reggie is played by 2 different actors, but then they kind of ruin it by making it a B plot instead of like a one-off joke, and they don't really explain how the other Reggie shows up other than like what happens later with all the crazy stuff with the universes. And then the plot ends with them killing each other in a duel, and when I saw this scene I laughed. Like, throw your head back, deep belly laughter, because they're just so stupid. Of course, if any character is going to meet themselves and then kill themselves in a duel, it would be Reggie. I love the actor they have to play Jason. He just looks so creepy and like otherworldly. He's like a haunted Ken doll. Not really about this whole make out to reset the universe thing or separate the universe. It just sounds fake, you know, like a middle schooler made it up, like, oh, to break the curse we gotta stick our tongues in each other's mouths. And this is what's funny, is like this is the first time that a writer has like retconned things in a way that makes total sense. Going back to what I said before, they perfectly set up this opportunity just to go wild and like write fan fiction, and then cut back to the actual real universe and be like, just kidding, and like it works. They don't let on right away that this isn't an exact parallel, you know, like no one said Jason was dead. They just never refer to him in any way until he's revealed that he's actually alive in this universe. It's kind of sad that I'd much rather watch this universe indefinitely, you know, like I don't want to go back to Riverdale. I like Riverdale. Also, the circumstances of the creation of the Pocket Universe were just random events. Hiram's hate, Betty and Archie's love, oh, and Archie had a rock on his desk, and I was writing a story, and Cheryl was doing witch things, and all those completely unrelated things created a pocket dimension. All right, now we're back to Riverdale Prime, as they call it. I love that Tony and Fangs are together, and I love that they assert that they are still, quote, bisexual and a proud part of the queer community. Like, that's very obvious representation, but it may not be obvious to some people. Maybe there's a 12-year-old kid who's watching this with their older sibling and just starting to learn about themselves, and this kind of information is enlightening for them. Thanks, guys. This would have been great to know when I was a kid. And honestly, I'm glad this wasn't played out in a really poor emotional arc. Like, I don't know, Sheriff Keller is like, you guys aren't real bisexuals. We don't need any biphobia. It's fine for them to just state that themselves. I don't know what I'm doing. So there's this moment where Cheryl gets mad and reads aloud a curse from one of her ancestors. And then later she's like, OMG, do you think that curse I read aloud was real? Like, yeah, what did you think was gonna happen? Why are you dumb again? So this is where we get into the superpower era. Betty can see evil now. She like sees auras around people. My understanding of auras is that like there's different vibes and different probably colors or something, but like she can really only see when someone's evil, and it's like a red aura, and then later on there's like a yellow piss aura when someone's good. But then like, why isn't everybody just piss or red? And honestly, going back to the Archie and Betty thing, Archie is kind of a better crime fighting partner than Jughead. Not like in previous seasons where they were together and they did a good job. I'm talking now, where like Jughead has still kind of got that depressed English teacher vibe, and he just, you know, he's not as strong as he used to be, and that's fine. Like, if he was a real person, I'd be like, Jughead, you gotta take care of yourself. But like, as a character that you could have written in any other way, he's just starting to slip like Betty. and it makes me sad. After this, I finished this season, I flipped back to season 1, and I've been watching. I actually just got into season 2, a couple episodes into season 2 before I started filming. And it's like, first of all, I was very nostalgic for season 1 because I think it's very good. But also, like, Betty and Jughead were such a power couple, like in a way that Archie and Veronica I don't think ever were. It's just kind of sad to see how things turned out, and I'm sad that they couldn't be together as characters later on. I'm trying to remember as I film this, we're 33 minutes in, to use my fan and to cool down. Last video, I got very sick at the end. Not only was my room very hot, but I'd closed my door all the way, and our ventilation in here is pretty bad, so I was slowly suffocating. This just says, Nana Rose is a stone cold bitch and has no qualms about sharing her plans, lol. I guess Veronica doesn't get any powers? That's fine, her powers are capitalism. Oh yeah, I love that Hermione is into reality TV now. It's the most interesting thing she's done for seasons, and she's living her best life. I think it's really fitting that Veronica ends Hiram's life. I just hope they keep him dead and don't bring him back. In the end, she like truly just became Hiram. You know, like she's just so in deep by this point. There's no coming back. The Jughead being deaf arc is really compelling and emotional. I just wish we had more time with it. But the graphic novel Epiphany was really cute. The relationship between Tabitha and Jughead seems a lot more realistic in this universe, so I was happy about that. I also like that Cheryl just talks so weirdly that when her ancestor Abigail possesses her, like nobody notices. Okay, TBK shows up to the FBI office and he's just like decked out in trash bags that he's duct taped to himself. And Betty is like right there. She's like handcuffed to the sofa and he's like, yeah. And then he leaves. It's just like, bye. It's just so stupid. It's like he doesn't really operate like an actual guy, like a human being. He's just there when the writers call for him. There's this funny scene where Nana Rose is like, Tony Topaz is trash. And then Abigail's like, bitch. And then it cuts to Nana Rose in a dungeon sprawled on a bale of hay. TBK is fucking Dennis, I guess. That's just what I wrote down. I like that they developed Veronica's complicated feelings about her father. Like not just the fact that she had him killed, which must have taken a lot of like strength and resolve, but also that her father did some terrible things to her family and the town, and that she also loved him. Her speech during the funeral, his funeral, like perfectly captured this, so I was really happy about that. Trash Man is so funny and so dumb. You just don't take him seriously. He's the worst villain so far. He gets pushed out the window by Archie's dog, and then he's gone from the story for a while until he's called back by the writers. Also, Jughead can read minds, and that's pretty crazy. And then we get introduced to Pickens. Who is this Pickens man? He's got very vague Tom Hiddleston energy. Kind of cool callback for like General Pickens, because I totally forgot about that guy. This is the guy that like in the era of like what, 2012 Tumblr, they would have been making little gift sets of him. I wonder how Riverdale does on Tumblr. Seems like the kind of show that would thrive. So Abigail is possessing Cheryl's body, and Nana Rose is just like, whatever. She's like, Cheryl's gone. What are you talking about? I don't care. Oh, I like Britta, or Britannia, as Cheryl calls her. I don't know if that's her full name or if Cheryl just made it up, which honestly seems a lot like what Cheryl would do. But like, I like her. She's always kind of like got this like, this look on her face, like wide-eyed and innocent. There's like, okay, there's this whole thing about the, what's it called? The gamble place, the gambler, no, what is it called? Casino, the casino that Veronica and Archie own. No, Veronica and Reggie own. Is the heat getting to me again? So Veronica and Reggie own this casino, and they're like, oh my god, we're not turning profit. We gotta stay legit for reasons, but we're not making any money. And it's like the episode before, Veronica's dad died, and he's like, here, have my rum business. And it's like, Veronica, you've got money from that, right? I don't know how things work. I don't know how business works or mafia stuff, but like, shouldn't she be fine? I don't know. I just feel like they should be able to keep themselves afloat with the other business, the rum business, while they try to get the casino. Oh my god. And Penelope Blossom in this season is so much. I wish she'd been better utilized as a more terrifying villain, like throughout the show. She's just a lot, like especially when she does the Joan Crawford impression, which is hilarious and terrifying. But I have beef with how Penelope was handled, and I will get into that later. So far the season is better at having a more cohesive like mystery and like overall story, so that's nice. Characters are investigating things together, yay! Like, what is up with Percy Pickens? I like that you know that his vibe is off, but you don't know his intentions, like what his business is. Like, he's seemingly doing good things, right? He's improving the town, he's got his own agenda. He's writing down secrets in his evil little book, and he's genuinely creepy and threatening, and his face is expressive, but his eyes are just dead. Like there's like nothing there. They're like staring past whatever they're aimed at. It's a really cool vibe. I like this guy. So they get Abigail, Cheryl's ancestor, out of Cheryl's body. She's no longer being possessed. And they trap her in this doll, the same doll that Cheryl and Jason's brother Julian was supposedly trapped in. And then they like give it long hair and a little band-aid over the crack. I just think it's funny that they not only, I mean, they put it in the doll, that's funny, but like they dressed it up a little bit and then put it in the glass case. Also, I am really digging Cheryl/Abigail's insane outfits in this season. I want to wear absolutely everything she owns. Around episode 9 and 10, I got a little bored. Like I was looking at Twitter and grabbing snacks without pausing and stuff. But honestly, much more enjoyable than season 5. I was just playing Octopath Traveler during that whole season. Archie is back on his boxing bullshit, and Cheryl is a firebender now. So Archie's powers is that he's invulnerable, but I think he's also like kind of got super strength. Maybe I was misinterpreting the power because he like punches through a doorway, but he's like also gaining like density or like weight, not weight, but like he becomes really heavy because he is invulnerable and he like falls through the floor of his house. I liked the Tabitha Tate centric episode. I thought it was cool that she experiences these moments throughout time that explore issues of race, which I'm not really qualified to comment on, but also explores how Pop's Diner has become like a fixture of the community of Riverdale. Also, there's the Holy Grail and they put a milkshake in it. That's the most Riverdale shit ever. It also does a good job of making you hate Pickens more. Like you just hate this guy by the end. Until the end of the episode where they've brought back the demon and devil shit. But this time, instead of being excited like I was in Riverdale, I groaned. Like when I saw Pickens do that devil jump scare thing that they do, I was like, no. Because instead of being a shady dude who's working towards his own goals but is seemingly immortal with persuasive powers, now he's suddenly like the personification of evil. And he's going to bring about the apocalypse.
My name's Legion, but blow out the candle, and I am the dark.
Which just renders him uninteresting. Like sometimes you don't want to see the devil enacting his wrath on a small town. Sometimes the best villain is just a guy who's snaking his way into power, corrupting the town, and convincing good, well-meaning people to do things that are bad for themselves or the community. In the real world, I have a lot more to fear from a threat like this than like Satan. I know earlier I was saying that you have to engage with the show on its own level when it gets ridiculous and not harp on the realism, but in this case they took an interesting antagonist and stripped him of all of his compelling qualities. I liked watching Percy because I didn't know what his motivations were and I was trying to figure him out by studying his actions. It kept me engaged whenever he was on screen. But if his motivations are just evil, then there's no reason to care when he does stuff. And like later you find out what his deal is, but it's still kind of just like, I'm evil and I'm gonna get my revenge. You ruined it, Riverdale. It was too good to be true. Like there's some scenes where Percival goes around collecting overdue library books, and because the characters obviously don't have them, he takes something personal and valuable from them as what he calls collateral. These are great scenes. This guy has a much more convincing rise to power than Hiram Lodge ever had, and you hate him more. Also, I think it's funny that Reggie is the only one who still has the book that he checked out years later and he knows exactly where it is. Or maybe it's kind of sad considering what the book is. Also, in the middle of this episode, I fell asleep on the couch. I had a nap. Not because the episode was boring, just because I was a sleepy little guy. Okay, I'm mad that they brought back Penelope. Like Cheryl, kick this bitch out. Do not give her the time of day. No one is less deserving of a redemption arc than Penelope Blossom. I will die on this hill. The whole point of showing her as this creepy, like Joan Crawford, abusive woman in Cheryl's mind when Abigail was possessing her, it was literally a window into Cheryl's trauma. So like, why? Do not make her like sit and have tea with her abuser. The whole thing makes you think that like Penelope, because she's rotten to the core, is gonna prove that she is and that she turns on her. But no, she apparently turned into a nun and then like she leaves, and I just don't think she deserves anything from Cheryl. Also, they copied the whole Doctor Strange Thanos thing, like in Infinity War, where Doctor Strange is like, I have looked at all of the possible universes for which ones that we succeed in. I haven't seen it in a long time. He's asked like, oh, how many did we win? And he's like, is that what he said? But in this case, what's her name? Tabitha is an angel, which is going a little too far, but I get that, like, you know, we've got the devil, we might as well have an angel. Anyway, her angel powers include her time hopping, like I talked about with her little episode. I should have explained that better. So she can time travel using the Pop's diner as like an anchor. Like, she can only time travel within a certain distance of the diner, which is kind of funny. But she like went forward to all these different scenarios, and she's like, I looked at over 1,000. We only won in 3. So it's not quite the same, but it's exactly the same. There are a lot of moments in this season where I could predict what the next line or story beat would be.
I have identified the spot where the venom entered the young man's body.
Okay, and where is that?
His dick! His dick! She has a poison pussy. Anyway, Veronica's powers are finally revealed. She is the Black Widow now, which means that she's toxic and she looks fucking sick. That's actually what inspired this outfit. Also, the Black Widow is a way better title than the Wolf of Wall Street, so I totally approve. So far, what's sad is that you could probably just skip season 5. Like, watch up until the time jump and then skip everything from there. It's all pretty meaningless. I love the subplot with Cheryl trying to reach out to her childhood crush and her being like nervous and stuff. I don't like the childhood crush when she shows up, but I'll get to that. It's weird that the characters are like, we are superheroes, but then like they don't really do a lot with their powers. Also, they did it. They fucking did Toxic, and Archie was super into it, and there was a giant spider behind her. I absolutely loved the stone cold faces of the investors while Veronica is performing. That is so funny. They fucking did it! Oh my god! Also, Jughead and Veronica do this magic act, which is really funny because, you know, he can read minds. Also, I love Dr. Curdle Jr. He is like top tier side character. He's super creepy. He's funny at times. He has hair in Riverdale. I don't trust Heather. Like, every time she smiles, it actually looks like a grimace. You know, there's like a difference in her eyes when you compare it to like the love you see in Cheryl's face. There's just like mild disgust on Heather's face. Heather is the childhood crush, by the way. I forgot to say that. I don't know. She doesn't do anything evil. Like, she gets shot with an arrow later on by Jason Blossom, who was resurrected. I guess I'll get there. But then she goes home. Like, you could just get the vibe from her the whole time that she's like, what have I got myself into? This bitch is crazy. I don't like this town. I'm gonna go back to Greendale the first chance I get. She's just there just to be like another witch for Cheryl. But I don't like the actress. The Jughead narrations are also like super inconsistent. Like, they're not throughout the whole show. They're just like sometimes during like a Jughead subplot. So I wish that they were more consistent, because we had like the really strong opening of Jughead being the Twilight Zone guy, narrator, host. Kind of wish they kept not that up specifically because it was a Riverdale thing, but like keep the Jughead narration, or just don't. I don't know. I think it's interesting that this season is technically rehashing seasons 5, like, the town is dying, we gotta save it. But it's way better, like way more interesting and like more colorful. We literally have Cheryl learning magic and turning invisible and being a witch. They did it. They took the leap. Like, oh man, all you guys who'd seen season 6 watching my last video, I'm sure you were like, just you wait, Audrey Kadri. They fucking took the leap into the supernatural, and I'm so excited. Also, this bachelorette party song and dance scene made me feel very gay. It was delightful.
Chanel, Gaultier, or Giorgio Armani, Moschino, Alaya, or Norma Kamani.
I had a good time. Also, there's bisexual lighting during Betty's song during episode 17. I thought that was so nice. Fan break. Oh yeah, this is the episode where they have a serial killer convention, which is really funny and also a very Riverdale thing to do. Oh, that's why they call him the trash bag killer, because he kills with the trash bag. I get it now. Okay, so Betty shoots the garbage man. Cool. Not super tense. Like, it's just a less compelling version of the Black Hood being like, we are the same. And she's like, nah. I kind of wish there was more to this though. Like, Betty's still doing the whole, I'm worried the darkness will consume me. It's not any different, you know? Let's go some places. Right? On the note of like wondering whether she should stay with Archie, which she also does, I do think realistically he is a good match because he's just like good guy. He's a light in the darkness. And Betty's got a lot of darkness. Like, even more than Veronica. Like, Betty has tinges of evil, whereas Veronica is like ruthless and corrupt. I don't think Archie could have kept back Veronica's darkness, but maybe he can hold back Betty's. I don't know. I view the whole serial killer evil thing as more of like a mental health thing, I feel like there's a little bit less agency involved in that, you know? Maybe it's like a nature versus nurture thing, because with Veronica, everything that's bad that she does, like every choice that she makes as she like goes about her day, it's like just further reinforcing, like, yes, I'm gonna stay in this corrupt business. Yes, I'm gonna put a hit out on my dad. You know, stuff like that. So it's like, I think it would be much harder for her to walk away from that rather than Archie being like, no, Betty, you're not evil. I really wish I'd written more context in this. Jug is hearing stories from the other universe and Percy is sending plagues upon the land. Cheryl is just like, hey, let's kill this guy. Which, like, yeah, kill him. What am I talking about? Are they talking about Percy? I think so. Which, yeah, kill him. Because it's like, what else are you gonna do? Am I evil? Am I the bad guy? Am I thinking like a villain? Cheryl is so much better this season, and I want her entire wardrobe. I already said that. She might be my new favorite character. Dare I say? I mean, I love Betty, but Cheryl's really rocking this season. Also, Tabitha is way better now than the Riverdale arc. Veronica's doing good. This season, more than anything, proved to me that she can really operate and carry her sides of the story on her own. I think, honestly, to pause from my script, I think that's maybe why I got so frustrated with Veronica most of the time during the other seasons, because she's always stuck sharing the screen with her father or Archie. Like, she's never doing stuff on her own where it's more of a focus on her. I really like when it's just a focus on her. She's like strong enough, like she doesn't need to like, I mean, obviously it's great to have other characters to bounce off of, but you want to see her move and make decisions on her own and not get so caught up with the stuff with her dad. Like, her Black Widow storyline was really interesting to watch, and it was basically just her. Also, I loved all of her musical numbers this season, especially the one at Tony and Fang's rehearsal dinner. She is so much, and everyone's uncomfortable reactions just really sold it. Okay, here I wrote, what if he's just a mean witch? Like, we still don't know his motivations, but he's doing spells and shit? I just really don't want him to be the devil, guys. Don't make him the devil. Oh my god, are they comparing Archie to Jesus, like with the darkness and him carrying the beam and the Jesus T pose? Are they doing that? Okay, so the episode where, what's his name? Percy, he's like sending plagues upon Riverdale. When we got to the firstborn plague, this is where I really started to get into the plague idea, mainly because it raises the stakes and it really hits the characters hard. Also, this shit freaks me out. Like, I am the firstborn of my family, and when I saw this on Prince of Egypt, I was like, hell no. All of the ones that were firstborns are dead now because of the firstborn plague. You see Archie in the afterlife, and he's like a dad, and he's married to Betty, he's got 2 little kids, and it just breaks my heart. Like, it's so good, it's so pure. And then you see like grown-up Anthony, baby Anthony, which also, he makes a reappearance. We have Sabrina Spellman back, which is pretty cool. I haven't watched the show where she originates, so I don't know her, but you know, she seems nice. And then every lady becomes a witch. That's cool. So like the witches have to like bring them back from the afterlife, which means they literally have to like go in, and I think they're dead, and they go in and grab them and be like, hey, come back. And of course, like, because it's heaven, no one's really gonna want to come back, but they succeed. Also, shaking things up massively, Jason and Polly are back. Did they have this planned out already? Because like Polly's death was so anticlimactic, where they just like, don't worry guys, she'll be back. But it's crazy because like Jason is a character that's like just kind of hung over the whole show, because that's what kicked off like the entire thing. So having him back and be like a character is kind of wild. Also, Cheryl is the Phoenix. That's pretty cool. I think it's really funny whenever they do like different characters throughout time, they just have like the same main 5 just like play their ancestors with like slightly different names. Damn, this season is just so good. It's like a complete 180 from the last season. Percy has an extended villain monologue, but it's played as like an interview with Alice on TV, like shortly after he becomes mayor, which is pretty clever. Like, it's still a villain info dump of like his backstory, but at least it's entertaining. And I really love that like Alice, as it goes on, is kind of like, oh, okay. I'm still really not about the whole evil devil stuff. Like, I prefer that he's not the devil or a demon, and the whole revenge on the ancestors thing is pretty okay, I guess. I don't know. I guess I was just hoping for something more complex and less he's just evil, and it ended up being somewhere in the middle. Also, the devil is back. Guys, the devil's back. Zombie Glenn fights Betty. Jason starts to hunt Cheryl, and I don't know why Cheryl is answering him. Veronica's grandma has a gun. Oh shit, Cheryl burns her bro. Magical dog licks. Okay, and baby Anthony is not so baby anymore. All right. We've arrived at the final battle, where the characters just beat up Percy in the parking lot at Pops. He literally says the line, I'm a magic man, R.J. Andrews.
I'm a magic man, Mr. Andrews, and I've always got another trick up my sleeve.
They take him, okay, this is actually pretty clever. So he beats up everybody in the parking lot, and I think Jughead is waiting for him in the restaurant, Pops. So he walks through, but he actually unknowingly walks through a portal. Are you with me? He walks through, as he walks through the door of Pops, that's actually a portal doorway. So he's now in Riverdale, and they've got those people on their side. And so he sits down with a Jughead, and he's like, I've won. I'm so awesome. And Jughead's like, nah, you're in Riverdale. I'm not explaining this very well. So like, Percival's an immortal dude who sold his soul to the devil, but he's like, haha, since I'm immortal, I will never have to sell my soul because I'll never die. So I don't exactly remember how they did it, but like, they took away his immortality, I think. Oh no. I don't remember. They beat him up. Tabitha grabs him and time travels him back to the olden days where he came from. And the devil is there. He's like, I'll take that, Percival. Thank you very much. Time to go to hell. And so he does. And then Percy's like, rah! As they're like, as he's getting transported to hell, he basically releases this curse to make the comet that's kind of been like hanging over this whole season. Like, comet's coming, guys. So he makes it that the comet's gonna crash into Riverdale. There's like this shield over the town where no one can leave. And I also assume that if it obliterates the town, that it would also shield the rest of the world, because it's like a cataclysmic event. I mean, they do treat it like it's the apocalypse. Anyway, that's where our famous clip of Cheryl trying to blow up the comet comes from that I saw on Twitter before watching the season. So I was very excited for what our build up to that was. So no one can leave the town. Like, it's like the kind of force field where you can go in, but you can't go out. So why didn't they lock down the town's board? Like, just put up some cement blocks. Be like, no thanks. There's a comet in the sky. Don't let anybody in, because then of course Archie Andrews comes home and his mom's like, hello, and he's like, oh shit, my mom, and she's gonna die now. So like, it's just stupid. It's just played up. It's just the dumb stuff that just like Riverdale. So the comet is gonna hit Riverdale because Percy the Perv changes its course as his soul's being dragged to hell by the devil in an alternate universe. You got all that? So Cheryl and Heather ask Abigail's spirit, which is possessing the doll, if she can help them figure out how to stop the comet. And she's like, yeah, Cheryl, you gotta use your phoenix powers to melt it with fire, but that's probably gonna take all of your powers. And instead of it being a cliche like you dying from this selfless sacrifice, it's actually gonna kill all the people that you brought back to life, like Jason and Polly and the other people who are killed by the firstborn thing, which is like, you know, over half of our characters at this point, because the phoenix powers are what's keeping them alive. And also, in exchange for this info on how to break the town barrier, I would like to have sex with my dead girlfriend by possessing you and Tony. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, I guess. Yeah, Abigail and Thomasina possess Cheryl and Tony, and they make love as our last sex scene of the season. Woo, yay! So after, Abigail is like, okay, untie this rope that's full of knots, and then the barrier will be broken. So I'm just like, why not burn the rope? We gotta think outside the box, guys. Come on. At this point, Veronica said it best, where she was like, it's time for a hard reboot, because spoiler warning, that's what we get. And then Jughead and Tabitha live out their entire lives in a time bubble booth at Pops, and they have 2 kids, and it's so sweet. And why would they do this to me? Veronica has an epiphany and realizes she's a support character, and she can use her powers to buff Cheryl, giving her all of their collective powers and making her the ultimate tank for the final battle against the comet. We also have our final musical number, which is cool. Which reminds me that we didn't really have a musical episode this season. Like, not in the same way as before, where it was like obvious and disruptive to the story. I think it was a serial killer convention episode, because they mentioned a musical that they were singing songs from, but it wasn't like the musical now became the plot of the show. Like, it was just they were singing them sometimes. Yeah, so Cheryl uses all of her powers to melt the comet as it arrives, and in doing so, I guess, because just like with how this universe was created by a sexy explosion, this one now jolts them back to 1955 on the day of the death of James Dean. So that's where we are. All I can say is I really hope that they keep the weirdness. Please stay weird, Riverdale. Don't make me watch boring shit ever again. I don't care that people say the show has lost its mind. It can stay lost for all I care. Season 5 made me ashamed to be a fan. Like, I felt silly for being excited to watch it. Season 6 reignited my passion for the series. And even more so, these 2 videos have revived my enthusiasm for making videos. Like, Riverdale did that. I'm really glad I forgot about this script way back when I first started my channel, because Riverdale is the hero I needed today. I do, however, have one small beef. It's a medium rare beef. I don't like that they retconned Alice knowing about Hal's serial killer shit, even if it's just one guy. I don't like also that they gave her the serial killer gene, but that's whatever. I just, you know, like Alice is a Karen and she's scary and she's very determined, but she's like not evil. She's just like kind of bigoted, and she's this much more realistic suburban mom that is just really toxic. And I don't think she has to have a gene that makes her that way, that makes her ruthless, you know? And like the reason why I hate that they added this is because, like I said, I flipped back to watching season 1 immediately after finishing season 6. And there is this really great moment in season 1 where Betty accuses her dad of killing Jason. And it seems at first that Alice is sobbing, but the sound changes to laughter. And she's like, him? You think he has a stomach for that?
You think that he has the stomach for that?
Alice.
I wish he'd killed Jason. I wish I had.
And it's great. And now that whole scene is confusing and it's ruined by this information later. The fact that he killed one guy and made her hide the body, that's going to change your perspective on your partner forever. Alice is so dominant in season 1. From the first moment that you see her, like she's standing in front of Hal, she's got her arms crossed, she's seething over what Jason did to Polly, and he's dead. You know, like they're looking for his body. And Hal is kind of standing behind her. His body language is different. Like, you know that she's like wearing the pants in their relationship. She's so dominant. It's really great throughout that season, because I just finished it, just watching their relationship break down. Like, she's losing control of her family. It's just so good. Like, she's very controlling, but like she didn't need the motivation for her being controlling to be that she subconsciously knew that Hal was grooming Betty to be a serial killer. Like, I think she's just that personality. She's just controlling. There's so many moments throughout season 1, and I'm sure probably season 2 as I get more into it and remember things, that like are ruined because now they don't make sense. Because why would Alice act this way if she knew that there was a body hidden under the floorboards in their kitchen? It doesn't make any sense. With the serial killer gene thing, it does nothing to the story but help with this convoluted problem with Betty's aura power. They really could have just not done that. They could have written it differently. Oh, another thing I thought that was funny, when Polly comes back to life, she's super preachy. She's like, fill yourself with grace, Betty. And she washes her feet, like that whole Jesus thing. And then she's like, there, you are cured of evil. And it's like, all right. And then it works. Like, they take it seriously. I just thought it was kind of funny. Season 6 was a lot. I hope it made sense. It's going to be more entertaining. Well, it might be entertaining for people who have seen it and who have also not seen it, but you also might just leave the video because you don't know what's going on. And that's not my fault. That's your fault. Man, I am so glad that I stuck with the series and watched season 6. Just skip season 5. It's really not worth it. It would probably be funnier if you're watching season 6 without context. And honestly, as you're watching it, there's very little context anyway. It just like filled me with joy. There were so many moments where I just laughed incredulously or at the ridiculousness of it. And that was fun. It was fun. And I wish I was drunk and watching it with my friends. Thank you for watching and sticking with me. Go watch the show if you like. I do love season 6. I like season 1. I like season 2. I'm still getting through the rest of it. It's been a while, so I had to refamiliarize myself. But anyway, thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. Oh, I should do the whole like, subscribe thing, I guess. But with that, I will sign off. Double thumbs up, finger guns, high five. I'm the... Does this costume evoke trash bag killer to you? And convincing... Are there rats in my walls? Did y'all hear that? That was like a scurrying. Y'all scurrying?